shall not be moved. It's not about peas. You say you kill a whole garrison of men over peas. It's not about peas. It's about what is yours, what is rightfully yours, what belongs to you. The Bible says that when they found him, he had fought and killed a whole garrison of men. And they had to, the Bible says his hands were welded to his sword. The mud and the blood of that field. They had to take his hands and bust it on a rock to break off the big cone of mud and blood that had caked around his hands, to get and pry his fingers loose from that sword. He stood, and God honored. See, there's sometimes we got to stand simply because it's the right thing, not because it makes sense, not because, sometimes compromise is not what's called for. Matter of fact, most of the time, compromise is not what's called for. There's an absolute right and there's an absolute wrong. There's an absolute promise of God that God has given you, and faith. The Bible says in Romans chapter 4 that Abraham staggered not at the promise of God. He didn't look at the deadness of his body nor the deadness of Sarah's womb, but he stood strong in faith and believed that what God had promised him, God would do. And had he not stood and fought for that promise, had he not stood like Shammah